Uyalaye, 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 oye. Uyalaye, 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 oye. Uyalaye, 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 oye.
In the lead up to sharing the work that came out of More Somali Than the Moon, I will be sharing parts of the story so that you guys can see how we got there. So as a side of the share call, I'm going to show you one of my favorite archives of Somali music collected by a Somali person and currently held in a digital archive as well as a physical archive by the University of Harvard. It is in this collection. It's held under Somali Songs 1955 to 1991, the Maryan Omar Ali Collection. And Maryan Ariyat even, is an incredible figure, and I encourage you all to read about her. But she spent her entire life collecting and curating Somali poetry, songs from that period of time. In 2017, Ahmed Samatar, professor of international studies at Macalester College and another professor at Wellesley College, whose name I forget at the moment, worked together with Maryan to digitize the collection. There's about 500 odd cassette tapes, maybe a little bit more, covering everything from love songs, hair law, political songs, poetry, to various other types of genres as well. But yeah, a beautiful and huge collection of songs that she literally carried in a metal trunk from country to country for years, for decades, until they were able to digitize it. And now it's available free of access both on YouTube and on the archive website. I'm so deeply grateful to the work of Maryan and everybody else involved in digitizing her collection, and I love it for two reasons. Number one, it is a not exhaustive but specific collection of a period and kind of cultural space of Somali Nimo, you know, from 1950s to 1991 or 95, whenever this ends, that I think is very, very important for our current history, our current today even, and our future. And the other reason that I love it is because it demonstrates the driving kind of ethos behind why I do any of the art stuff that I do, or the archiving stuff that I do, which is that the best way to archive something is to just love it, to practice loving it, honoring it, carrying it, because when you have that jail for it, you're not going to leave it behind. Nothing will force you or convince you to leave it behind. You will have a war at your back, immigration at your front, and you'll be carrying that trunk of tapes across 5 different continents. I think, yeah, if I could have done that, I would have had to leave behind my tapes. Whoever got them, I hope to God they appreciated the little bits of music that I collected. Anyway, that is a side point. All this to say, I love this collection. I'm very appreciative of Maryan's work. I just wanted to come back to add two incredibly important things that I can't believe I didn't add to begin with, but I mentioned the point about jail, or a sense of romance, being important in cultural archiving as well as culture making, because Maryan, in the last months of her life, was battling breast cancer, to which she sadly lost her life. Allah Haristo, rest in peace. And as well as going through treatment and trying the best that she could to take care of herself, she spent the last months of her life basically going through these tapes and doing the best that she could to organize them and make sure that they were ready to be handed over for digitization, preservation, and eventually to be shared on YouTube and on this website. There is an interview, and I will share a link to the interview that Professor Ahmed Samatar did with her, that kind of goes into detail about her relationship with music and, you know, growing up with that heritage from childhood all the way to basically having that heritage soundtrack her life. It's hard to put into words how much it must have meant to her, and she must have known how much it would mean to the rest of us, how necessary it would be to the rest of us. And I can't really imagine her thinking of somebody like me, you know, a Khaniis Somali person, or a Khaniis Somali diaspora person, but as somebody who has to go through other means to be able to access my culture, I can't really put into words what these kinds of collections mean to me, you know, to feel at times really, really isolated from my culture, but to know that all of the things that I feel like I miss out on are just there. Like they're not vanished from the universe, you know what I mean? But to have access to them really makes a huge difference. So having said that, and I will cover it more later in the video, at the same time, it's not like specific Khaniis music culture, sound culture, or culture in general can really be found in these collections. You know, there might be some things that kind of allude to it, but in terms of outright explicit mention of us, you're not going to find it here. So when I say that you have to have a sense of romance for the thing, I mention it because everybody carries what they love. You know, Maryan carried these things that she loves, and I also love. But I have to carry the things, and you and I have to carry what we love, which is what we make, what our Khaniisian ancestors make, what our descendants and each other, what we make now, what we want to see. So, in the same way that she had her metal trunk, I will have my own, you know, proverbial metal trunk of Somali Khaniis culture that I make and take to preserve. So I wanted to mention love for that reason, both in terms of what I learned from her and also what I will be taking forward for myself and for my community. All this to say, I love this collection. I'm very appreciative of Maryan's work. But the reason, let me land, because the reason I'm doing this is because I'm going through this collection, and every time I go through it, I'm sad to say it's mislabeled. And this is not anything against Maryan at all, because the work that she has done was simply too much for one person. She did the most important part, which is to preserve and save these things. Some of them are original tapes that she collected because she was fortunate enough to be around artists and singers and studio spaces, and the rest are stuff that she recorded off of broadcasts, radio broadcasts. So I think she did the heavy lifting, you understand what I'm saying? But the cataloging and everything that came after that on this here archive, disappointing. It's really disappointing. I'm looking through these songs, and even with my own limited knowledge, I've been a fan of Somali music for 31 years, but I've been alive for 31 years. It's a very short amount of time to be knowledgeable about something. So my knowledge is very much full of holes. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not at all saying that I'm any kind of an expert. I would say I'm a fan. I would say I'm an obsessive fan, but by no means an expert. And even me, just taking a cursory look, you know, every once in a while, I'll click on these links and I'm expecting to hear something, and it's not what it's supposed to be. I'll show you. Let's take this tape as an example. It's labeled Umar Rule and Ahmed Gaite. I clicked on the first one that I recognized by name. This one, Ahlan wa Sahlan. I think a lot of people recognize it because it's a very catchy tune. Ahlan wa Sahlan Dahir. Aniga Diare Dahir. Like, people recognize that. Well, I say people, probably, you know, older generation. But it's well known. However, when I go on that link and I open the file, what do we hear? Yeah. So it's mislabeled. Then I went back to the tape and I thought, okay, let me just check out a few more. I'm scrolling down and there's another one I recognize, Ilaheshi. Again, a very well-known one by Umar Lule. And it's well known because of the story that it comes with, which is that he wrote it for his wife when they had a fight, and she went up and went back to her mom's house, and he wanted to basically, apologize. And the song is essentially to win his wife back. It's a beautiful song. I don't understand it fully, but I do know what the song sounds like. As I said, I'm very appreciative of Maryan's work. I only wish the way that it was kept was reflective of or equal to the amount of work that she put into collecting it. I wish they did her shako justice, you understand? And I bring this up because part of the reason I wanted to do this workshop in a collective manner is because none of us have the full story or the full information of any one thing. The people who do often do so by virtue of a network of people, a community of people from which they learned and with which they created things. The institutional archives that contain our information, knowledge, history, cultural stuff, and artifacts hold an incomplete picture. That is the baseline, most neutral way of saying it, but another way to put it is probably that they bastardize what they have. Okay, they have a lot of things, but a lot doesn't mean it's accurate. So you have to kind of be very keen in examining what's in front of you and not taking anything at face value. So when I want to verify something from the Maryan Omar Ali Collection, I use other sources held by Somali people in either collectives or informal institutions where basically people are contributing knowledge together. And if that doesn't work, I use my best resource, people. Awaiska Dalmar is a great resource. It's about 17,000 videos. It's been running since the inception of YouTube. I kid you not, I think the first video was uploaded in 2006, and it has an incredible collection. If, for example, you search for one song, this song that we're talking about, Ilaheshi, it will come up with at least 4 different versions of the same song, and I checked all of them. They are all correct. They're just different versions of the same song, sometimes by different artists, sometimes by the same artist, or sometimes by Umar Lule with a different person duetting him, but they are all accurate. Right? None of the other archives on YouTube are half as big, but some of them are. 17k videos is quite a lot, to be fair, but this is 761, Abdurrashid Kharare. I think this is actually not an individual, but I could be wrong. It's a collection of Somali Banadiri music, and it's really, really cool. This is Karami songs. So this is a collection by a team who have a great deal of knowledge between them. There's other ones. This is actually doesn't have a lot of stuff, but I've been looking for better resources on lyrics for songs that I can learn. Another one. And even after cross-referencing with all of that and much more, you still will not find a vast majority of the music and culture of minoritized and marginalized people. Not in the institutional archives, not in the informal archives, rarely anywhere except within the proverbial gob, whether it's a physical space or a digital space or a cade that the people themselves make, the proverbial gob of the minoritized and marginalized people themselves. So ultimately, to get a full picture of the history, to get the complex and conflicting stories, you have to go to, that's a drum roll, you have to go to people. You always have to go to people. That's where the story starts. So for the next installment of this, I'm going to introduce you to one of the people who were very, very central to this whole project. And that person is Saeeda Sheikh Ahmed, author of Laga Marona, the first book to address the rights of Khaniis Somali people in the Somali language. Her work is a vital resource examining our place from both a cultural and religious perspective. For this project, she contributed an incredible reading from her book translated into English that uncovers the history of the Sufi celebration of our Usmanka in the city of Marka, which has included Khaniis people, our dances, our music, and so much more for hundreds of years.
arintii allaheenaas oo saari rabaasliyey eebooga ula jeeda male arintii allaheenaas oo saari rabaa